Everyone, welcome to another recorded live video. This video is for the girls who are giving Newstead Grammar School entrance tomorrow and on Saturday. Uh, this is a rough idea how your nonverbal paper would look like. So this is a CGP paper. You all must have done a paper like this. Just want to go with some of the topics and some of the techniques how to do these topics for you guys. It's a last minute technique. I know all of you are really good in verbal. That's why I did not choose verbal today. The only reason choosing non-verbal is because non-verbal is the one which is seen when you have a tie. So you have to be really careful when you do the non-verbal tomorrow. Look at the shape carefully and see the techniques how to do it. So if you guys are ready, we'll get started. I'll be giving the answers side by side. So this is one of the section which normally comes. I'll skip the sections which have not come yet in Newstead entrances. So this is basically they are telling you each question below have five shapes. Find which one in the row is most alike. So basically the odd one out. So odd one out is something which will definitely come in Newstead. If you have a shape like this, you all have to be really careful to look at the shapes. Remember that when you have odd one out, you have to see, you have to think about the sides, the shading, and side shading and look at the differences. This is something you have to do. Like in this one, number one, if you look at that, in number one, all the figures have the same number of dots. If you look at the dots are same except one of them, same number of dots and the number of sides. So this is very common. So you might have something like this one. So you have the dots and the lines are same. So the sides and the dots are same. If you look at the first one, it has four sides and have four dots. Look at if you look at the B, it has one, two, three, four, five, six, and you have six dots. In this way, you'll find your answer would be a C. So the next one, if you look at number two, and also remember that in odd one out, you also have to see rotation is something which is very common in 11 plus, and you have to think about rotation. How did the shape rotate? How is the shape rotating? So in odd one out, you have to be careful about the rotation. So you have to think about the rotation. How would it rotate and all these things? So if you look at this one, it definitely has rotation, and the reason is all figures have a smaller shape which is rotation. So in this odd one out, they normally have rotation. So rotation would be the inner shape or the outer shape. One of them would be rotating. So you have to be really careful to find which one is rotating. So if you look at number two, the rotation, they are rotating 180 degrees, the inner shape, like rotation of the ladder shape, and they are same, and they are rotation of the inner outer shape and the inner shape are same, but the inner shape is rotating. So if you look at this one, you know the answer for this one would be a E. So the same thing will carry on. I should remove the answers for you guys so you work out a little bit. In this one, these type of questions are very common in which you have the lines, and in this one, you know that all the other shapes have one more line than the number of sides. So basically, you will have a shape and you will also have a line. So the shape might have, the lines would be more than the shape, one more than the shape, or less than the shape. So these are the options you have to look at. And if you do that way, your answer for this one would be a B. And the reason given is that all the other shapes have one more line than the number of sides of the larger shape. So you can count and then you can do it. And then you have the number four. This is raindrop, the drops one. In this, you will, another thing you can look out for is that the side it is facing. So all the other shapes have one raindrop pointing onto the opposite direction. So direction, it's pointing the opposite direction. So if you look at that, one of them is pointing opposite direction. And if you look at D, that's the one which is doing the opposite direction, and others are not doing that. So these are all the things you have to be really, really, really careful when you're looking for the odd one out. So if you look at this one, I'll give you a second for you guys to guess what the answer could be for this one. Think about the things I've told you: rotation, Sides, inner shape, outer shape, looking shape is the inner shape is rotating, all these things. When you think about all that things, the answer for this one would be a. And the reason for this one would be that all the other shapes have an arrow and a dot. If you look at that, they have an arrow and a dot, except one of the shapes. That's why your answer for this one is a. And the same thing you carry on doing. So number 6 also, you have to look at the same thing. You have to think about ignoring the lines. In all the figures, the half shaded square and circle are in the same apart from rotation. And D is half shaded square and circle are a reflection of others. So they are basically reflection. Reflection means that they are reflection of the big shape and the inner shape. Sometimes you have reflection like that. So if you do like that, you know that your answer would be a D. And the next one is number 7. They are saying all the other figures, the small shape is a smaller version of the one shape in the larger white shape. So you have to look at that. And when you do that, you would get your answer as a B. And then you look at number 8. The same thing, you have to look at the thing in our rate is basically all the figures must have a small shape in a smaller version of the one of the pair of the larger white shape. So if you do like that, you know that your answer would be a C. Then I'll move on to the next section. I won't go on. So basically, remember that all your sections would be timed. You will have 12, if there are 12 questions, you will only have 6 minutes to do them. And next one is grid. Grid also normally comes. So grid questions are also very common. So you have to be really careful when you do the grid one. In the grid one, I find them more easy. And because of the reason, you just have to complete the grid. So you just have to look from the shades from this side and this side what's happening. If you look at this side, the circle is the one which is going on the top and changing colors. So the same thing would happen here. And then when you do that, your answer would be a B because the circle will move down. So that's your answer for this one. And if you have something like this one, what do you have in number 2? In this one, you just have to work out from left to right the top left hand shape divided into equal quarters. So you need to think about equal quarters. Each quarter goes into a different corner of the right hand grid square. The top left and bottom right squares become black. If you look at this, these two are black. They become black. And the top left and bottom quarters become black. The spiral reflects downwards and moves to the middle of the grid square. That's why your answer for this one is a D. And then you look at this one here. If you have a shape like this, don't go like that. Always go like this one. Like here, what's happening? If you look like this, sometimes we do a mistake, like we look this way. Sometimes you have to look this way, and sometimes you have to look this way. But in this one, the way to know that is because I also did the same mistake. What do you guys do? I thought that we are looking this way and it would be a arrow type of answer. But when you see that the answer is not like arrow, then you know that the way they are looking is this way. So don't you waste your time looking this way, this side, just go with this one. So if you look at them, what's happening in all of them, it's basically working from top to left. The shape in the top two grid squares turn black and they are added together to make the bottom grid square. So basically they are together, they will make another grid square. And if you look at that one, you it definitely would be a. And another thing is that the part of the shape which overlaps become white. So the overlap shapes also changes color. So shading is something which is also very important. You have to think about the shading. So in this one, if you know number 4, the same thing is happening in number 4. The top grid square is reflected across to make the bottom grid square. The colors of the two biggest shape swip. So you look at that, you look at, if you look this, it actually swims. So I'm looking this way now. You can come to know which way they want you to look. I'm looking this way now. If you look at this way, the black becomes white and then it also changes, it goes on the other direction. So we know that the same thing is going to happen to 4. That's my answer for this one is 5. Arrow questions are also very common. You might have something like a arrow one. So in this one, you're working from left to right. A large arrow is reflected across. So the arrow style line at the bottom of each row stays facing the same direction, but it end changes from black to white. If you look at that, we know that we are looking for a white shape because we are looking at this way like that, not this way. And then the arrow also in the bottom changes color. That's why this one was easy. The answer is 6. Now, looking at number 6, what's happening in number 6? They are working from left to right. The longest diagonal line rotates 90 degrees. So, rotation, as I told you guys before, is something which is very important. You have to keep looking at rotation. So rotation is happening in this one. And after the rotation, 90 degrees rotation, the white dots become black. If you look at the white dots have become black, this is a white dot become black. So we are looking for the white one here now. Becomes black. And the smaller shape in the bottom left hand corner gains one side. So if you look at that, they gain one side each. That's why your answer for this one is B. And then when you look at the next one, the same thing will happen in this one. You're looking like this, so you have to be careful the way you guys are looking. What's happening here? You look at the black one is rotating little bit. Other side, its rotation is happening. Again, how much rotation is reflection of each other? It's a rotation, you could say rotation, somebody might say, and I would say that it's a reflection of the other one. So if you look at the reflection, your answer for this one, and the side of the smaller shape curves inwards and the shapes with colors, it also changes color. That's why your answer is a C. And look at 8 now. In 8, what's happening? You're working from left to right. The Z shape gets bigger. Again, rotation. It's rotating 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So you have to think about clockwise, anti-clockwise. These are the things you have to worry about. And when you look at that, you know that the answer would be a 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Look at the number 9 now. Number 9, the same thing is happening. It's rotating. Working from top to bottom, the triangle and the circle rotates 90 degrees clockwise around the middle of the grid square. The different shading of the triangle and circle, black. So what's the sequence going on? Black, white, and hashed appears only once in each column. So every column has one type of each shading. That's why you know the shading is. And in this one, we look at that two shapes are same and one is different. This one was really easy. So in this one, the one we are looking was for this one, number 1 here. So it'll be the same shape of this one. That's why it's D. So I'll move on to the next section now. Another section which comes is what comes next is the one, I think so. This section is you don't struggle so much. So if you look at what's happening in the shape in this one, sometimes to make your life easy, you can also make 2 sequences. But in this one, I don't think so. We need 2 sequences. So what would be the next sequence? In this, all they must have 3 small white shapes, a triangle, heart, and a square. So they have a pattern going on, and the pattern is triangle, heart, and square. Number 2 now, they have a black square on the point of the star. The inside shape must be the center of the star. If you look at that, that's why the answer for this one is E. And number 3, we know that they have inner shape. So something related to the inner shape. Think in your mind when you have a question like this. And the answer would be all the shapes must have an inner shape, which is a half of the outside shape. So if I look at that, They are half what is the outside shape. So we did that. That's why your answer for this one would be a E. Looking at number 4 again, this question I marked as circle, big circle, because everyone in our tuition got this one wrong. And the reason for getting this one wrong is because everybody gets confused when you have a question like this. But when you have a question like this, you don't have to get confused. Just remember that what I just told you, you have to be looking at the pattern, what's going on. And in this, we know that all the figures must have a head shape inside. So one of them have a head shape inside. Yes, it does, with a thick line going in front of them. So there's a thick line which is going like that. Can you see it? A line. This is the line they're talking about, the arrow one. So all figures must have an arrow, which is only arrowhead. All the shapes must have three white shapes, two of which must be in the same shape. So they should be same shape of them. The arrow must go through the middle shape. In it's always going like that. And there must be one black dot, and it also has a black dot. Can you see the black dots in all of them? That's why your answer for this one would be a E. And the next one is number 5. They say that all must have a head shape with the thick line going in front of that. If you look at this thick line, this is the line, the thick one. This is the line they're talking about. See, can you see the line? This is the line they are talking about. So if you have a line like this, then you just have to think about it. And then the answer for this one would be a B. So look at number 6, what's happening? They are saying that all figures must have two small white shapes at the same and a third small shape that is different. One of the two shapes are the same, must cross inside it. The shape has a cross inside it, cross like this one. If you look at that, that's why the answer was A. And if you have something like this, I know you guys really get confused when you see shapes are different shapes. Never get confused when you have different shapes like that, because they are just making you nervous, so that you get nervous. So in number 7, all figures must be identical apart from the rotations. So they are rotating and they're identical. That's why the answer is E. And the 8th one is, if you look at that, all must have a triangle inside them. That's why the answer is E. Let's move on to another one now. Section 4. It's again, section 4 is the same one. It's like, let's see, what are they asking here? Each question has two shapes on the left with the arrow between them. The first shape is changed in some way to become in the second one. So basically, they change. I'm not very sure questions like this will come, but it's a good practice to do them. I'll just do one or two to tell you, if you have something like this, how that would be. So if you have something like this one, you just have to see how the first shape is made, and this shape becomes like this, becomes smaller, and you have a black one. Also, it changes sides basically. That's why you know that if you look at this, they change sides. That's why it's or becomes smaller. If it's bigger, it would be B, but we are looking for a smaller one. That's why it's a C. And second one is that the outer shape rotates 90 degrees clockwise and the inner shape gains a extra side. That's why your answer is B. Questions like this are very rare, they come, but have a practice to go and see how it comes. And this one, codes and this have never come yet, but still have a practice to go and see how you guys get them. So let's do one of the codes one, because I know they have not come yet, but still you should have little idea to do them and know what's happening with them. I'll just do 6 questions for you guys to see it. So in this one, you just have to see what each number, sorry, each alphabet tells you. So if you look at that, we need something like this one. So we have to do a square. We are looking for a square one. And we know that the square one becomes with a C. So just cancel the ones which are not a C. And then you just have to look between Y and X. Y is basically means that Y is the outer circle. We are not looking that. And Y is outer circle and X is why is not shape not touching, sorry, why is the shape not touching each other like this one? I know the shapes are not touching, so I know my answer will be CY. Next one now, look at the next one, see what each shape represents. I know that it will begin with the M means a circle and pentagon. So I will cancel all the ones which are not M and then just look for S and R. S basically represents shapes not overlapping, but the shapes here are overlapping or not overlapping. They are not overlapping. So I don't have to look for R. I know my answer would be a S. And the next one, again, number 3, you have to find what's happening. We know the arrow is still looking, all of them have an arrow, but we have to look at the outer shape of that. We know that it'll start with a Y, X and Y, sorry, X and Y are the rotation of the square. So I know it's a Y. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Now look at L and K. L basically represents a flat arrowhead and K represents a curved arrowhead. But I am looking for a flat arrowhead. That's why my answer would be YL. And the next one, you know, the formats of all the 11 plus entrances are changing. They have not come yet, but I would highly recommend you all to do it because we don't know. They might add it, they might not add it. If they add it, you should know how to do it because time is something which is very important. And this one thing I keep saying, everyone, if you are less in time and the section is getting over, if they say 2 seconds left, the section is getting over, and you have 4 5 left, just go for it. Just because a multiple choice, try doing random answers. And in non-verbal, I have always seen the answers are D or C. So try doing them D and C for all your answers if you don't know, and see how it goes. So if for number 4, the same thing is happening. You have to find the pattern. What's happening here? We are looking at B. What does B represents? B is dot outside the larger shape. So if you look at the dot outside the larger shape, you know it's B. Cancel all the C's. Now you have J, K, and H. J basically represents a large white hexagon, which we are not looking for. Cancel. Then you have K. K is a large white triangle. Yes, I'm looking for that. So I know my answer is K. It's BK. And sometimes, I have seen that they do something which is they give you one of the, like, you have B, C, C, and C. They might also give you one of the options which has a D. So you know that B represents dot outside the larger shape, and C represents dot inside the large shape. And if the shape has 2 dots, and they might give you another alphabet D. So you would just know yourself. You'll say, oh my God, why have they given us D? D alphabet was not there. So then you have to think about the logic and then think about it and then go for D. D, like your first option. So this is something I wanted to tell you. Look at number 5. That's a E. And then you have S and T. You have different peregrine reflections. So you know that it will be S definitely. And N is the different triangle reflections. So that's why the answer is CN. And the last one, what we're going for today, is number 6. That is basically, you know that it'll start with a B because B is the arrow pointing downwards. I know it's a B. I've done a B. And then you have a J. J is basically, what does J represents? Because if you look at that, it doesn't have a J here. Oh, it does. So what does J represents? The J represents a big shape divided into four parts. If you look at the shape divided into four parts, that is a J. So with this, you have to think about the logics and think how would you do it. Another thing I want to tell you, that for verbal reasoning, they normally give you 35 minutes for 80 questions, or some girls will come out and tell us that it's 35 minutes for 80 questions, or some tell us it's 40 for 80. 45 minutes for 80. So just practice around this timing for your your verbal reasoning. And verbal reasoning, there would be some questions you guys have never done it. They might add something new. So just don't get nervous and always try guessing your work. And I've told you how to guess. Just try guessing, because it's better to get 1 mark and not get any mark. I hope this video was useful, girls. Best of luck for tomorrow. And again, please try to like and subscribe to our channel if you guys have not. You can find us everywhere now. We are on everyone in social media. We are on TikTok, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. So try following us in all these platforms if you really want to learn something new. That's all for today. Thank you.